Thank you. Welcome. Congratulations on both your nominations. And let me just say thank you to both of you for taking the time to visit with me and answer my questions. I really appreciate that. Welcome to your family as well. Ms. Kraninger, I'm going to start with you. And these are similar to some of the questions that we had together when you were willing to meet with me. But let me just start with this. I've heard you say time and again today in response to all of my colleagues questioning that your intent is to ensure the Bureau is transparent and accountable. But my concern is, based on the questionings that you and the answers that you've given today, we can't even get you to be transparent and accountable about the work you're doing at the OMB, the current job that you have that's funded by taxpayer dollars that should be transparent to the public. So I have concerns that if you can't even tell us what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, how can we trust that you're going to carry that over to the CFPB? But let me follow up with this. Mick Mulvaney said that state regulators and attorneys general should play an active role in enforcing consumer protection laws in the banking industry. However, as a former attorney general myself, I know that AGs can't be the only cop on the beat. The CFPB has been vital in uncovering widespread and massive fraud and holding those companies accountable. And they are the first stop in the states to protect consumers. That is your role as well, my understanding from the statutes that I read and what you've said today in your statements. And let me give you an example of where the CFPB was instrumental for us, the states. Wells Fargo, as you well know, their actions affected 3.5 million people nationwide, including 121,000 in Nevada alone. After an investigation by the CFPB, Wells Fargo paid a $500 million penalty. Can you enumerate the powers that the CFPB has that state AGs or state regulators do not?
Senator, certainly as we discussed in your office, I appreciate your perspective and experience in this area. The partnership with the state regulators is essential, I believe, to the point that you noted. The states have been engaged in the enforcement.
Why do you think it's
engagement
essential?
Sooner. I'm sorry?
Why do you believe it's essential?
Certainly because the law actually stipulates that, and I think that's important, though. They existed prior to the Bureau and were engaged in this activity prior to the Bureau's existence. And the statute specifically calls out that important coordination role, whether it's with enforcement actions.
Well, let me just say, as somebody that relied on the CFPB, because I will tell you, in the state of Nevada, the regulators weren't there when the crisis occurred. Mm-hmm. Nobody stopped it. Nobody was working to prevent it. But when the CFPB was created, they were the watchdog nationally to work with the states and the states' AGs. And I will tell you, the CFPB has a national view of the issues, and it is not limited by state preemption laws. It is key to what happens across this country when we're looking to consumer financial protection to work with the states. Let me ask you this. Without a strong federal regulator, how do you anticipate states will be able to uncover and put together patterns of wrongdoing, potential wrongdoing across the country?
Senator, I'm committed to carrying out the responsibilities of the Bureau under the law, which does include working with the states to look for those kinds of things, to work with them closely on enforcement matters and give them that national perspective. We talked about the information sharing that is vital between the Bureau and the state attorneys general and the regulators, and certainly I am committed to sharing that appropriate information with them to support their efforts and looking at the right opportunity for the Bureau to step in from a national standpoint.
So outside of serving as a partner for state regulators and AG, rules issued by the CFPB can also be enforced by state AGs. Do you support empowering the AGs by issuing rules through the CFPB?
I believe it is an essential responsibility of the Bureau to engage in the rulemaking activities, setting clear rules. The example of
yes?
Debt collection, yes, Senator.
Thank you. A matter deeply important to me is that every American has the right to a day in court, and that the justice system works for everyone, no matter their race, their class, their creed, where you come from, or who you know. Let me ask you this. Have you ever signed a contract with a financial firm that included a mandatory arbitration clause?
Senator, I believe that I probably have through credit
Ms.
card
Kraninger,
companies.
your lawyer, did you read the mandatory arbitration clause before you signed it?
As a lawyer, I do try to read those things, and I have actually read them in the past.
Were you aware that you were foregoing your right to sue when you signed the contract?
Senator, I certainly was aware of what the clauses were that were in the contract. I can't assure you that that's what was there, but I
Do
guess
you
it
believe
probably
that
was.
ordinary Americans page through and read the fine print of these contracts and know that they are signing away their rights?
I am guessing that many of them do not, and I think that's why the model disclosures responsibility of the Bureau in statute is important, and understanding that the Bureau has a role for looking at those things.
Do you support the CFPB's mandatory arbitration rule?
Senator, Congress certainly acted through the Congressional Review Act to preclude that rule from going forward. So from that standpoint, it's addressed in that manner. I think,
Do you believe all consumers have a right to their day in court?
Senator, I believe through contract relationships and in general, there are opportunities for consumers to take action, including coming to the Bureau and submitting their complaints.
Have you ever investigated a bank or payday lender or credit card company?
Senator, I have supported investigations in many of my roles. I believe actually in terms of financial crimes that the Secret Service oversees and that Homeland Security Investigations oversees, there has been some involvement with those institutions.
But personally, you've never been involved in the prosecution or investigation?
Not of financial institutions directly, no, ma'am.
Have you ever brought a legal action and, as counsel, formulated a case against a bank, payday lender, or credit card company?
And Ms. Kraninger, please be brief.
No, Senator, I have not.
Thank you. I see my time is up. Thank you both for being here. I will tell you, Ms. Kraninger, I do as well have concerns about someone without the experience to lead a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, 1,600 employees, millions of dollars in budget that is looking out for the best interests of consumers when it comes to financial products. I have concerns about what I've heard from you today as being the right person with the right experience to lead. Let me also say, Ms. Reed, I look forward to supporting your nomination. Thank you.